Radiant and Resilient is about mindset and faith to break paradigms and overcome challenges in our life. Because when the mind, body, and spirit are aligned, we literally radiate from the inside out. I'm Kay Vasquez. Let's dive in. In this episode, I really want to dive into the mindset around fertility. Because when I was a functional medicine practitioner, so just solely practicing functional medicine, not even diving into mindset yet and inner healing, I started to notice a trend with the clients that I was working with, because I had a lot of women reaching out to me for infertility. They were having trouble conceiving more than a year. And these women were doing all the right things. They were eating healthy. Granted, there were still some tweaks we could make with what they were eating, because one, when we're eating food, when we're eating healthy, sometimes even healthy food can affect our gut and create inflammation in the body. But regardless, they were still eating pretty healthy, exercising, doing all the right things. They had seen a different specialist, gynecologist, fertility specialist. Some had even gone through IVF. So they were put on prescription medications, hormones. A lot of them were also taking like hormone and fertility supplements. So they were doing everything that they can. Also, they were doing all the sex positions. They were tracking their ovulation. Again, they were doing all the right things that they thought that they should be doing, but they still had trouble conceiving. And so when working with them, I did my best to go in to see if there were any other imbalances, like looking at the health of their gut, looking at their hormones and adrenals. And what I discovered was that there were some things we could work on supporting their gut. But when it came to hormones and adrenals, most of the time it was not a hormonal issue. And some of the women that had gone through the IVF process were on hormones. And I'm like looking at their progesterone levels, and their progesterone was normal, because I was looking at it during the luteal phase when progesterone is peaking. And some of these women had their progesterone tested during day 3 of their period, which naturally, if we understand the physiology of the body, progesterone's low during that time. It doesn't peak until after ovulation. So to me, it didn't make sense to put women on progesterone based off the test during your period when it should be checked during, your mid-luteal phase when progesterone was peaking. So yeah, when I actually looked at the hormones at the right time, most of their hormones looked pretty good. I didn't feel that it was a hormonal imbalance. What really stood out to me was the cortisol, their adrenals. There was a lot of imbalance there, usually high or really low levels. And so as a functional medicine practitioner, of course, the thing that I knew what to do was put them on adrenal support. And I had recommended like yoga, meditation, things like that. However, they still had trouble conceiving. And the trend that I noticed with the women that didn't have trouble conceiving, these women came to me, not for fertility, but they came to me because they just wanted to optimize their health. They were focused on, okay, I have these imbalances in my body. I'm feeling these things physically. I just want to feel better. I want to feel my best. They had no intention of conceiving. And so while working with them, as we were supporting the gut, supporting adrenals, hormones, things like that, naturally in the process, unexpectedly, they ended up conceiving. They had no problem conceiving. And actually, I remember a few clients. One had cancer when she was young. She had an autoimmune disorder, and we had uncovered that probably a lot of the root cause of like the autoimmune things that she was experiencing in her body was due to Epstein-Barr. So as we were working on supporting healing her body, she had gotten pregnant once before, but it was a very complicated pregnancy, complicated birth. And she didn't think that she would ever get pregnant again. And so the chances of pregnancy in her mind were like none. While we were working on healing her body, she unexpectedly got pregnant. It was a miracle because she was not focused on getting pregnant. And another client I was working with, in fact, I actually mentioned a little bit of her story in the last episode around setting intentions. She had came to me because she had trouble conceiving for 4 years, but that was not her intention. That was not her goal working with me. She had also gained weight, was just very tired, fatigued, had a lot of stress in her life. So, again, her goal intention was not to conceive, it was not to lose weight. Instead, she focused her intention on just feeling better, feeling healthier, more energized. And so we went to work. We focused on simple lifestyle tweaks to give her more energy, to help her feel better, to experience that outcome. And we also dove into her mindset and emotions because she thought she was an overall positive person. But when she tuned inward to really look at the thoughts she had about her health and her fertility, she realized they were negative. She actually was disappointed every single month when her period would come. So we did a lot of work around shifting her thoughts and her beliefs. And instead of seeing her period as the end of a cycle, she started to see it as a beginning. She began to have more appreciation for her body, for her health, for her fertility. And because of the work that we did, in just 2 months, she became pregnant. So what I realized was that, okay, there's these two types of women. One actively trying to conceive, the other type not trying to conceive. The ones not trying to conceive easily, unexpectedly got pregnant, and the other ones that were trying to conceive were having a hard time, even if they were doing all the right things. And so, what was the difference? Well, I already shared it with you. The ones that were focusing on just their health, they were the ones that were able to get pregnant without any problem. The ones that were focusing on trying to conceive were the ones that were struggling. And why is this very important that I provide this distinction? Because energetically, feel and tune into how that feels in your body. So if you're currently in the group that's trying to conceive, you're doing everything, you've seen all the specials, taking all the supplements, all the medications, have changed things with your lifestyle, I want you to really tune into this term, trying to conceive. How does that energetically feel in your body? Because this is where the distinction is. This is where that fertility mindset comes into play. Because words and language that we use is really powerful. The words that we use have a specific energetic frequency, which then affects every cell in the body. So that's why the thoughts we think can impact our physical body. The thoughts or the words that we say impact our physical body. So when we're trying to conceive, how does that feel? So as you're listening to this, I want you to share, reach out to me, let me know, how does it feel in your body? So tune in. Does it make you feel strong or does it make you feel weak? Does it feel heavy? Does it feel light? Does it give you energy? Does it make you feel tired? How does trying to conceive make you feel? Because this is a very, very important distinction and understanding, realization, whatever you want to call it, that I realized on this journey is what is impacting women at a cellular level, impacting their physical health, impacting their reproductive system and organs. Because if you think about it, trying to conceive, I felt this pressure that women were putting on themselves to do all the right thing, to try to control the circumstances. They were focused on everything outside of them to get their body to conceive instead of tuning inward to do the inner work that they needed to do in order to feel safe enough to conceive. Because when you're putting this pressure on yourself to conceive, yeah, energetically, it doesn't feel good. Your body doesn't feel safe. It actually sends you into a fight or flight mode. And it's so hard to receive in order to conceive, when you're in that state. And that was the biggest thing that I saw in my clients, because the ones that weren't focused on getting pregnant, I'm sure they were calm and relaxed and present with their partner when they conceived. because they weren't focused on putting that pressure on themselves. And so I share that with you because mindset around fertility is so powerful. It's something that Western medicine doctors don't talk about, and sometimes even functional medicine practitioners don't talk about. They may dive into mindset, emotions a little bit, but recognize that it's so much deeper. And this is just, I'm just touching on the surface of what I saw, what I intuitively saw that was happening in my clients, my perspective on things. And energetically, I can just feel the pressure. And when I ask them if they're stressed, they weren't stressed in the fact that, thinking about stress as they're creating stress internally because they're putting this pressure on them to conceive. Some of them said, I don't have any stress. Or if they did have stress, they were stressed about other things like work and finances, things like that, which also creates stress in the body, also puts you in fight or flight. But they weren't open to talking about the pressure that they were putting on themselves. And I remember having a conversation with a potential client one time who, when she went to the fertility specialist, she and was told she had 1% chance of getting pregnant with IVF. She just came to this place of acceptance that, okay, even if I go through this process, the chances of me conceiving are none. She was able to release the pressure off of herself for the first time. And because she did that, there was an energetic shift that happened in her body. And we can feel that when we release that pressure and just focus on something so much greater, like feeling your best physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, it shifts the energy. Our body starts to feel safe. And so I am grateful and blessed that the first time we conceived, I didn't have trouble conceiving. But again, which group did I fall into? I fell into the group of just focusing on optimizing my health. Yes, ultimately, my goal was to eventually conceive and have a family. But instead of focusing on that, I was focused on, okay, what do I need to do? How do I need to prepare my mind, body, and soul to get to that point? So for the last 5 years of my journey, I literally just focused on first healing. I started the journey of healing myself mentally, emotionally, then focused on healing my body physically, then went back to mental and emotional and dove even deeper, and then a spiritual journey, because I recognized that there was still more that I needed to uncover, still more that I needed to heal through and grow through. And a lot of it was spiritual. I was on this path, redirecting me, guiding me back to strengthening my relationship with God and really just truly embracing who God created me to be and my purpose in life. And so the year that I had conceived unexpectedly, because again, I was just focused on feeling my best physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that when I was intimate with my husband, I was fully present. I just focused on being present with him, being intimate with him, and nothing else. Nothing else mattered. And so when we conceived, my body was safe. My body was calm. My body was relaxed. There was no pressure trying to conceive. It just happened. And it was unexpected. And I'm grateful because obviously it happened according to God's plan. And it's funny because I actually was trying to prevent pregnancy. And so it goes to show, no matter how much we try to control, sometimes when we're trying to control a specific outcome, like trying to conceive, it energetically blocks us from achieving that because we think that, something is wrong, instead of accepting where we're at in our journey, but also having faith and trust in God that it will happen. That's another thing. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine. And we were just talking about how she personally knows someone, a family member, that's having trouble conceiving and has not really like fully have faith and trust in God in order to be able to conceive. And so I think that speaks volumes to like the spiritual piece because again, we get so caught up in trying to control the outcome, but are we really surrendering and releasing and having faith and trusting that it will happen? And trust me, it's hard to do when you feel like nothing's working, you've tried everything and it's still not happening. It is so hard to have faith and trust in God, but that's where God comes in. Because when you can fully surrender and trust in God and trust in his plan, it will happen, and it will happen on his time, not your time. And the sooner we can release, the sooner it will happen. Because God wants to show up in such a beautiful way and bless you in such beautiful, unexpected ways to show you that he can do what no one else can do. And that's the beauty of this spiritual healing, recognizing that maybe you're on this journey, haven't conceived, because God wants to move in a way that no one else and nothing else can provide, but he can. So have faith and trust in that. And that's the big takeaway message that I wanted to come on here and share. If you're on this journey of trying to conceive, one, stop using that statement, trying to conceive. Instead, focus on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Because I tell you what, before we conceived, I felt my best physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I was so calm, I was so relaxed, and just focused on being present with my husband. Because how many times I'm sure women put pressure on their partner, their spouse, and it's like, okay, it's time, it's go time, it's, we're ovulating, we gotta have sex 10 times a day, It's like, no, you don't have to have sex 10 times a day. You don't have to, do it in the right position. You don't have to put your legs up the wall after. You don't have to do all these crazy things, because if you're meant to conceive, it will happen in its beautiful way, in its own timing. You don't have to control it. Like, nature will provide. Nature happens exactly as nature's supposed to. And so I hope this, as you're listening to this gives you some sense of encouragement, and recognize the missing piece, because I really truly believe that is such a huge missing piece when it comes to fertility, is this fertility mindset. So take away, instead of trying to conceive, shift the language and focus on who do you need to be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in order to conceive when that time comes. Because do a check-in on yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Where's your physical health? Where's your mental health? Where's your emotional health? Where's your spiritual health? And if you're not at least a 9 out of 10 in all of those, then okay, that's what I need to focus on next. Because I've had clients come to me, they're like, yeah, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, I'm great. But physically, they're probably not eating the best. They're pushing themselves, not adding in self-care, really supporting their energy, getting quality sleep, things like that. Then we need to do some lifestyle tweaks. But most of the time, it's not just physical. It's also mental, emotional, and spiritual that we need to work on, that we need to dive into, uncover what's going on in the subconscious mind that you've been suppressing for a very long time, because that too is keeping you from shifting into a state where your body feels safe enough to conceive a life. So if this episode really resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out, let's chat, send me a message on Instagram at the Kate Vasquez, or set up a connection call. I'd love to just learn more about you and your journey, and let you know that I'm here to support you in any way that I can, because sometimes it's finding someone that has a different path, a different way, something helping you to see things that you didn't see before, that can create such a shift in the body and allow the healing to happen, allow the conception to happen. And another resource I'd like to leave you with is a book. So if you've had trouble conceiving, have had miscarriages, I recommend reading this book called Supernatural Birth by Jackie Mize. It's all about like the mindset and biblical perspectives around pregnancy and giving birth, but there's also some incredible pieces, some gold around trying to conceive and miscarriages, which I think is so powerful that I do believe women need to hear. Because you're not going to hear that from Western medicine, you're going to hear it from functional medicine. So I highly recommend getting that book. It's been powerful and insightful for me as I prepare to give birth. My goal is to have a supernatural birth, and I can't wait to share that experience. But for those that are in that journey where they're trying to conceive, again, stop focusing on trying to conceive, focus on healing, and have faith and trust in God.